In this video, we will demonstrate how to cut full profile sheets in ORD. The first thing that we need to do is to attach our file that contains our center lines, which for this example here, if we go to the Home tab and we go to Attach Tools, we have this civil geometry file attached that contains our center lines. And those center lines should have profiles assigned to those in order for us to cut profile sheets that we're going to do here in a little bit. Another thing that we're going to turn on underneath our view attributes is constructions. That way we can see our clipping shapes as they go through either the profile window or for the plane window. Now what we need to do is actually turn on and see our profiles. In order to do that, hold your right mouse button down and eventually you'll get this toolbox pop up. We're going to go to View Control and we're going to go to this one that says Two Views, Plane Profile. Now it's going to say Open a Dynamic Profile View. Go ahead and click on OK to that. First thing that we need to do is in View 1, select our alignment that we want for the profile. So I'm going to select this alignment right here. Now it's going to say which window do you want to put it in. I want to put it in View 4. So I'll just simply left click inside of here, and then eventually you'll see your profile show up. So we're good to go there. We can see our profile, our proposed, and also our existing. Now what we need to do is actually go through and start cutting our full profile sheets. So let's go to the Drawing Production tab and let's go to Named Boundary. Now inside of this tool right here, I want to select this one right here that says Civil Profile. We'll go to our drawing seed, and we have some drawing seeds that are created. We're going to select this one that says Full Profile. Then we need to decide what size scale that we want. And for this example, I'm going to do a 50 scale. So I'll go down and select the 1 inch equals 50 foot. The name really doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it as is. You can name it however you wish. Just don't use special characters in the file name. Description, of course, that's optional. Another thing that you do have is your method, whether it's from station limits or from plan group. For this example, we're just going to do station limits. And we're going to do them dynamically, so we'll just leave that as is. We're not going to worry about this name, which is the group name, or the description. It's going to be pulled from the profile that you select. We could give it a start and stop location. Like I said, for this example, we're just going to do it dynamically. From length down to profile shifts, don't worry about tweaking those numbers. Those are already preset from this scale right here from our standards. If you start messing with these, it's not going to produce the plan sheet, or excuse me, it's not going to produce the profile sheet accordingly. The only one that you will need to tweak is this vertical exaggeration, depending on what scale that you select. So that is one that you will need to change. And for a 50 scale sheet, this should be set to 5. If it's a 20 scale, it should be set to 2. If it's a 100 scale, I think it should be set to 10, and then for a 200 scale profile sheet, it would need to be set to 20. And I'll kind of show you that example here a little bit later on. For this example, I'm going to uncheck the Create Drawing, which is this little box right here, and we'll get to that in a little bit of a different way. So now if we're ready to go through there and lay out our sheets, it'll say down in your status bar, Identify Profile View. This is my profile view, so I'll simply just left click inside there. Now we need to select the alignment. I will select it at this snap point. And now you'll see, zoom out a little bit, you'll see my ports being created. And I'll just go all the way to the end for this example, and I'll left click to accept it, left click to place those. And now we see each one of those ports that are through there. And this is your clipping shape in order for us to cut your profile sheets here in just a second. So now if we go back to this tool right here, our name boundary, we have this little box right here. We're going to select that. And this brings up our named boundaries. We got plan groups, we got profile groups. We're going to expand out the one that says profile groups. And you're going to see those 4 clipping shapes that are underneath there. In order for us to now cut those sheets, we can come back in here and select this little box that says show the create drawing dialog, and I will right click over this Route 54 PR, and I will select the one that says create profile drawing. Inside of here there's a few things that we do need to tweak. Our scale right here, we're going to change it from 1 to 20 to 1 to 50 because we are cutting 50 scale sheets. And then our annotation group, we do want to change that also. So I'm going to come through here and change that one to profile grid 50 scale. This one here set to 50, so we're good to go there. So now if we're ready to cut the sheets, I can go ahead and click on OK. And now what it will do is create a drawing model and a sheet model for each one of those shapes that were created from the profile. And if you look down here in your status bar, you'll see the process and how far it's created those sheets. And then eventually you will see your profile. Now this is the last one, which is just that small little area. But if I go back to some of my other sheets that were created, let's say I go back to my models here, we see that it created a drawing model and a sheet model for each one. So if I go back into my sheet number 1, you see that I have my profile and also my grid work. If I go to sheet number 2, same thing, and it's got some information inside of here also. Sheet 3, and of course sheet 4 was that small little sliver. Now if I go into the actual drawing model, you can see this is all the information inside of here. So basically this information right here, of course, is just referenced from this information right here. So anything that I add to this sheet will be reflected in my sheet model. So if you need to add text or dimensions or anything else like that, that needs to be added to the drawing model, and then it will be reflected in the sheet model. You shouldn't have to add anything in the sheet model. The only thing that you will need to add is the tile block information, which we'll talk about that in a separate video. So now if I go back to my default model, this time we're going to actually create full profile sheets, but this time we're going to use it from the clipping shapes that are already created from this plan view right here for this other alignment. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my view number 1 is active. I'm going to hold my right mouse button down again, and I will go to View Controls, and I will select this one that says 2 Views, Plan Profile. It's going to say select Open at Profile View. Click on OK. This time I'm going to select this alignment. I will select my view number 4 down below here. And of course we have the profile for this road right here, this outer road. This time we're going to go use the same process, but we're going to cut the profile that are going to be basically at the same location of what these cut plan sheets are. So now if I go up to my drawing production tool and I go to name boundary, this time I will do the same thing. I will select this tool right here. I will select my design D-size full profile. I'm going to change my scale. I'm going to set it to 1 to 20 because these sheets right here were cut at a 20 scale, not a 50 scale. So I am going to change those to 1 to 20. The name of it, I'm just going to name this one, I'll just name it outer PR. This time, instead of using station limits, I'm going to use this one that says from plan group. And like I said before, you shouldn't have to tweak anything else down below here except for, like I said, the vertical exaggeration. I want to make sure that's set. If it's a 20 scale, I want to make sure that's set to 2. And the rest of these numbers I don't want to tweak. So now if I come through here and I'll identify my profile view, which it says down below here, identify profile view. I'll select it. go ahead and left click on it again, and then you will see your actual shapes inside of there. It's looking at the plan view and those shapes that are in there in order for it to create the profile ports or the profile clipping shapes. So now if I go ahead and left click to accept it, you'll see that it created those two shapes. And of course those are the same shapes from whatever limits that you have for your plan clipping shapes. So now if we go back to our name boundary tool, which is this little icon right here, this time I will go back to my profile groups. You'll see that we have one for this one right here, this outer road. And I will go ahead and right click over it, and I'm going to select the one that says create profile drawing. Now you do have the option right here that you can create one sheet per DGN file, which we will show that for this example. We'll click on that, and of course you give it the location that you want. If you don't change it, it'll be in the same folder of what this file is on. But what that will do is actually go through there and create a separate drawing model and a sheet model for each one of those clipping shapes. So if you want those outputted into separate files versus it being in your current file, you can do that. And we'll show that for this example. And of course the name of the file is going to be this right here. The other thing that we're going to double check is our annotation scale for our drawing model. That's set to 1 to 20, so we're good to go there. We want to change our annotation group, make sure that's set to profile grid 1 to 20. And of course this detail scale, I want it set to 1 to 20 also. So everything else looks good on that. We can go ahead and click on OK. And now it'll go through there and create separate DGN files for each one of those clipping shapes. Then it'll prompt you right here to check in this file. We will go ahead and click on the update server copy. And this one right here, we're going to go ahead and check those two in. So just keep in mind whenever you're cutting those sheets into separate files, make sure the file that you're currently in is what you want, because it's going to prompt you to open up the last cut plan sheet that's there. So it's going to prompt you to check that one in and any other sheets that's being created. And now you'll see that you're in this file right here, this outer PR-1, which was the second sheet, and you can see your profile accordingly. And if you go to the Home tab and you go to Models, you see that you have your drawing model, which is this right here, which this is, like I said, this is where you want to put all your information inside of here, whether it's notes or details or anything else with this profile. And then of course your sheet model is just a output from that drawing model. And that's the way Bentley has this particular tool designed for cutting profile sheets and also plan sheets. So now I will go back and open up my test file that I was working with, which is this one right here, Sheets Profile Test. I will check this file in. And now we're back into this file. The last little option that I want to show you with the cutting of profile sheets is you do have the option to move these particular clipping shapes. And just one example of that is if you go up to the Drawing Production tab, down below here, not this little icon right here, which actually brings up the option to cut the plan or profile sheets, but you have this one right here that has this little down arrow. If you click on it, there is an option to adjust profile named boundary. Just to kind of show that, if I click on this and I come down below here and it says identify profile view, and I select it, and I select one of my ports or my clipping shapes, you can see I can kind of move those up and down dynamically. So it basically locks it into whatever the start and stop station is, but then my actual shape, I can actually move it up and down and keep it locked in. So if for some reason I need to do that before I clipped out the shapes, you can do that. Now these shapes are not dynamic, so if you move these shapes and you go back to your drawing model or your sheet model, it's not going to dynamically show up. So if you need to move those shapes, you'd have to move those and then recut those out. So those are not dynamic. So that is the demonstration of how to cut full profile sheets in ORD and a couple of the options that are available with it.